Aloha and good morning, KCS. Peeve here for our last chapel of calendar year 2020. Yes, Trigger, the last chapel of 2020. And some year it's been, hasn't it? And I'm sure a lot of us would like to see 2020 just go off and never return. But for now, here's our final chapel. Now, before we get into the last chapel message of the year, I'd like to share with you some pictures and video from Ms. Holmes' class. I goofed. I messed up. Didn't get it. Didn't put it in the last week's video. So here it is. Ms. Holmes, 8th grade class, and the things that they're thankful for.
I'm thankful for my middle school team because they make me laugh, they give me food and coffee. Oh, and I'm also thankful for this paper mache chicken that Christian Tokioka made.
Hello. I am thankful for food/water because you need that kind of stuff. I'm thankful for school because I learn stuff and that way I have stuff to prepare for or like do in my life. Also, sleep because you need sleep or else you die. And then video games because it's very entertaining and it's also something to do with my life. And then my cats because they bring joy to my life. Very joyful. Goodbye.
I'm thankful for Call of Duty, cash, hoodies, jackets, Star Wars, The Mandalorian series, because that's good, and Avatar: The Last Airbender series.
I am thankful for my chameleon Jade. She does not do much for me, but she's just cute.
I'm thankful for my cousins because they make me laugh.
And I'm thankful for sleep because it's rejuvenating and I get away from work.
All right. Well, hopefully in the new year I will make fewer of those errors. So, all right. Well, moving on. This past week, I and the other homeroom teachers received an email from Ms. V regarding our class's yearbook themes and class verses. And I was being my annoyingly pedantic self, and if you don't know what pedantic means, go ahead and look that up. And as I was filling out the form with my classroom via Zoom, I got to the part where it says first name, last name, and decided to type in David Valente. I obviously erased that because here's the thing. You may not know this, but David is my first name and Kainoa is merely the shortened version of my middle name, which is Kainoa Akealoha. Now, I remember growing up on the mainland. My dad joined the Navy when I was 4, and he moved around a lot. And every day on the first day of school, I would try to get to the classroom as early as possible so I could approach the teacher and say, hey, teacher, I know on the roster it says David Valente, but I go by Kainoa so as not to confuse me with my dad. So if you can go ahead and just call me Kainoa. Because the last thing I really wanted was in the middle of roll call, the teacher, called David Valente, and then I have to explain in front of my classmates, all right, here's my whole family history, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Well, as I got older and the kids got meaner, I started to get teased for my unusual name. Now, by the way, small pet peeve of mine, okay? Can I vent? Can I rant? Can I rant a little? Yes, I can, because my video, okay? I do not like it when I go to a Starbucks in Hawaii and they ask for my name and I say that my name is Kainoa and then they ask how to spell it, okay? I think that's perfectly okay for me to feel a little upset that you are in Hawaii and you are asking me to spell Kainoa. Just saying. Anyways, rant over. I would get teased for my unusual name, and they would say things like, oh look, it's Kanua. He's gonna ride his Kanua back to where he came from. And, it wears on you after a while. And I just got tired of explaining my name and my situation and all that stuff, so I was like, you know what? Just call me David. I mean, after all, what's in a name? Why does it matter what people call me? Well, in Hawaiian culture, names matter a lot. Names can confer honor upon a person, which is why some names are actually kapu if you do not come from the proper bloodline. And some names can almost speak prophetically of aspirations that the parents or the family might have for the child. For example, when my wife and I chose names for our children, we did so with intentionality. Enzo was named after Enzo Ferrari, the man, not the car. The reason for this is because I wanted Enzo to have the same single-minded focus on his passions that Enzo Ferrari had for his. See, Enzo Ferrari was a race car driver and then the owner and operator of a racing team. The thing is, running a racing team didn't make a lot of money, so in order to finance his passion for racing, he ended up selling customer cars. Now, he absolutely hated selling customer cars. You know, those fancy Ferraris that you see nowadays, Enzo Ferrari hated selling those. In fact, he hated them so much that he was often very rude to his customers. One of his customers was Ferruccio Lamborghini, which you can kind of, if you know cars, you can put two and two together. Yes, Lamborghini, the car maker, the sports car maker, was a result of Enzo Ferrari's brashness. Okay? Now, I wanted my son to do whatever it took for him to pursue his own passions, just without the bad attitude. My daughter was named after two of my favorite female vocalists, Ella Fitzgerald and Amalia Rodriguez. Kavika was named to honor my grandfathers, David, my maternal grandfather, and Edward, my paternal grandfather. Bless you. Now, I have asked the 9th graders this in their class, but I'd like to ask you as well. How were you named? During the break, if you're able to, ask your parents, and if you feel comfortable sharing, please let me know in the comments below, or you can email me at kvalente@kcsohana.net, and I'll share them when we get back from break. But like I mentioned, names can honor, and names can be prophetic. Now, the culture of the first century was not unlike this. Names had meaning. Though no one in his family was named John, his parents were instructed to name him Yohanan, the Hebrew version of John, which means Yahweh is gracious. This is John the Baptist, obviously. The name Jesus itself, Yeshua in Hebrew, means Yahweh saves. And again, Yahweh is the Hebrew name, the personal name for God. Yet there was another name for Jesus that I'd like to look at today. Matthew, in his gospel, sees Jesus as fulfilling the prophecy from Isaiah and writes in Matthew 1:23, "The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel," which means God with us. For those of us who have either been Christians for a very long time or grown up immersed in Christianity, we can become dull to the sharp point that Matthew is pointing out. To understand the significance, please permit me a brief history lesson. When the Israelites consecrated the tabernacle, the presence of the Lord filled the space in the form of a cloud that was so thick that the priests could not continue their service. When Solomon's temple was consecrated, the presence of the Lord filled the space in the form of a cloud that was so thick that the priests could not continue their service. Well, that temple was destroyed by the Babylonians during the siege of Jerusalem, and a second temple was built when the Israelites were allowed to return to Jerusalem by the Persians. When that temple was consecrated, the visible presence of the Lord was nowhere to be found. In fact, the people and even the priests began to treat the temple and the service thereof without the proper respect, which is what the prophet Malachi, which is the name of the book before Matthew in our Bibles, addresses. 500 years before Jesus, he writes, "I will send my messenger, who will prepare the way before me. Then suddenly the Lord, who you are seeking, will come to his temple." He's essentially telling the people that they've become complacent because it doesn't appear that God is with them anymore. But he will return. There were many who longed for the fulfillment of this prophecy, and we actually get to meet one of them in Luke's telling of the birth narratives of Jesus. Okay, now, according to Luke 2:25 through 26, there was a devout man named Simeon who was patiently awaiting the Messiah, and the Holy Spirit revealed to him that he would not die until he had seen him, which he does when Mary and Joseph bring Jesus in for the purification rites. Upon doing so, he exclaims, "Sovereign Lord, as you have promised, you may now dismiss your servant in peace, which you have prepared in the sight of all nations, a light for revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of your people Israel." As if to reiterate the importance of Jesus being Emmanuel, God with us, Matthew ends his gospel with Jesus re-emphasizing the fact. In the last words spoken by Jesus in Matthew's gospel, referred to as the Great Commission, he says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always until the end of the age. Emmanuel, God with us, is with you always. So what then shall we do? Well, Matthew gives us two examples of how we may respond to the news of Jesus being God with us. Well, we could be like King Herod and see Jesus as a threat to our own sovereignty. See, Herod himself was not a real king. He was not of the line of David, and he actually really wasn't Jewish. Though he said he wanted to worship Jesus, his motivations were really to exterminate any possible usurper, which included his wife and sons, whom he had killed because he thought they would steal his throne. Or we could respond like the foreign astrologers, the Magi as Matthew calls them. They read the signs of the time, or belay that, they read the signs of the time and responded to them, seeking out Jesus and offering him worship. We too have the same choice. We can foolishly try to grasp at our own sovereignty, or we can offer ourselves to Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. It's been said that solitary confinement is one of the worst things you can do to a person because humans, by their very nature, are social creatures. Even though I do quite well hanging out by myself, I don't think I would last long before going insane in solitary confinement. In this season, in which we celebrate the birth of Jesus, in the midst of the shopping and the parties and the music, let us be aware of the real Christmas presence. The presence of Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. May you have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas. Peace be with you and with yours. Aloha and God bless.